pumping out, but it's certainly interesting to try. So we're going to be going kind of fast today. We're going to go over making a dashboard, but first, if you haven't used it, dashboards are a great way for GIS users to convey complicated and often robust data sets and analyses, using intuitive and interactive data visualizations. They're really useful for planners and policymakers, whether that's at the local or the state or federal level, or within private organizations as well. Also really great for the general public because they allow users to visualize trend. They allow us to show the trends. They allow users to visualize the trends, to monitor status of projects in your organization or your community, or what have you. And the beauty of them is that you can tailor them to your specific audience to most effectively get across the pertinent aspects of your data, of whatever project it may be. So for example, if I have data from my local utility department, say it's electrical, and I want to summarize that data for both the employees of the utility department and the public that they serve, well, I can easily do that by creating two dashboards. One's going to have technical and pretty esoteric data for the employees that understand the terminology and processes, SOPs, what have you. And the other one is going to be, more generalized for the average layman, that they can understand, basics of the electrical utility, how their lights are coming on, projects, why they have an outage, things like that. So let's take a look at some examples. So this is one. This is one that Steve in the City of Reading GIS department created for the fire department to map out, incidents in our mutual threat zone, which is the area that is CAL FIRE's responsibility, but that the city will go out to help with. And I won't go into it because we don't have a lot of time, and we'll see it when we build this, but you can see really cool selector options here, some cool summaries. Another example about, this is one of those, some like technical, but also with some explanation could be consumed by the public. Examples of inspections of wastewater pipes here. Here's an example that we create, or Shasta County and the city created for the car fire, for debris removal. And you'll notice here, it's pretty cool. This has taken a dashboard here, but it has nested it within a story map. So you've got a couple dashboards here, but then in other tabs, you've just got your regular story map aspects. And then of course, finally, the now famous COVID-19 dashboard produced by Johns Hopkins University. And if you haven't checked this out yet, you certainly should. It's got a lot of really cool data and gives you a good view of the global situation. And those GIS professionals out on here will know that it can be kind of difficult to get data sets, from departments within your own organization. So, that these GIS professionals were able to aggregate all of this data from health departments and health organizations all across the world is honestly a testament to the ingenuity of GIS professionals and just the power of this technology in general. So definitely check this one out if you haven't. And let's build one of these really quickly. I don't have a lot of time, so we are going to move fast. So if you want to, feel free to chime in over voice. I'll probably get that faster than I will in the chat, but you can also put it in the chat as well. Maybe someone can keep track of that for me and let me know. So I was given some sample data a couple of days ago, and I threw something together. And what it is was essentially a point count at popular intersections or maybe busy intersections. I don't have a lot of information on how this data was collected, but essentially information on cyclist counts at these intersections that's been completed on an annual basis. So I threw this together. We've got a selector here, a year selector, which you can see then affects almost all of the other aspects of the map. So as I'm clicking through, we're changing what we're seeing on the map. We're also changing our statistics here. We did have numbers in the data set for time of day, so whether it was the morning or the evening. And so obviously this is something that is good for the public to see, also good for transportation planners to see trends in the data, to know where they need to allocate resources. And so now let's briefly go over the process. So I essentially got a geodatabase with a point file that had location IDs and then an Excel file with the byte count data, which I brought into ArcGIS Pro, and I then published, I completed a join from the point file to the Excel file with the data, exported that, and I published it to ArcGIS Online. Sorry, the top there is killing me. Okay, and so this is just a snapshot of what the data looks like. Got your location ID, location description, and here's my numbers by year. So oftentimes what you'll encounter, you'll get data like this, which is obviously good, but I had to do some data massaging, and you will oftentimes have to do that because you'll notice these are all put into separate fields, and these aren't actual date fields. And so in order to make the dashboard work properly, I had to reconfigure, do some data massaging, and produce the data set that looked more like this. So this is a total of 36 locations. I changed it so that I broke out each observation at each intersection per year, got its own record. And you'll see why I had to do that to visualize it in the dashboard. So this is much more succinct. Added a date field, have my morning count, my afternoon count, and my total right here. So then what we do is we bring that into a web map. Brought in the city limit. You'll set your base map. I'm depending on the data, I'm a fan of this streets view, this night view. Looks pretty slick. And then in order to get this density view to differentiate your ridership, I went into the symbology properties here, and instead of just having standardized symbology, you'll go to my byte count total. That's what I'm trying to show. And then you can change how big or how small these are, the color, change that to, sort of fit well with the colors of the background. And then we're going to share this as a dashboard. I'll just say running cycling, and it's for GIS Day. So the dashboards are fairly intuitive, but obviously if it's, you know, your first go round, it's gonna take some experimentation. And, you know, even now I've made a few of these and it still takes some experimentation. So we get to walk through that together. So the first thing that I'll do is change the theme, because like I said, I like this dark theme, depending on what you're, you know, what you're trying to show. And so now we need to add all of the cool gadgets and selectors and make this nice and pretty. So the first thing I'll do is I'll add a header. And we don't want that with underscores, and we'll say, I think cycling Reading is what I used in the other one. You can add in these icons here, just little cool things to add some texture to your maps. So now we've got a header bar, and as you saw in this one, I want to add a selector because I want people to be able to parse this out by year. So I'm going to add category selector. I want to group my values by year. And obviously the city limit is just for reference, so I'm going on my bike data set. That's what I'm selecting there. My category field is my date field here. I want to show all of them, and there was 11, so I have to up that. And I don't want it to be a drop down. I want it to be nice and easy. So pick button bar, and I want the latest year, the most current, to show first. You'll also have these names down here. I like to change this to what it actually is. Otherwise, you know, you'll end up with 5 selectors, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can't quite remember which is which. So I like to actually say what that is in there. Oh, actually, and then I forgot. So that's just setting up what it looks like and what data it's selecting off of. But then the more important part is adding the actual action that it's going to complete. And it's, we want it to be working on the map. So now, as you can see, when I'm clicking through, it's selecting the data for that year. Okay, now we're going to add in some indicators. Again, luckily this is nice and easy. We just have the one data set. I want to show my average. And obviously I don't want to show it with these decimal places because that's not very pretty. So this is one of the things where you kind of have to fumble through. You know, Esri's online resources are a huge help. And I just happen to know that in here, you put in a number symbol and it rounds up for you. You'll change what you want to write in here. And you can change your color scheme to make it nice and pretty. That looks pretty good. And now every time you do that, or you can do it at the end, it's important to remember that, well, if you want the data to be dynamic with the selections here, then you have to do it from that selector function. So as you can see, I'm clicking through and the map is changing, but this indicator is not. So I'm going to go to my selector. I'm going to add target, which is that indicator there. And now that is changing on the fly. Pretty cool. We'll do another one. We'll do another 2 real quick. I want to show my minimum. We'll show maximum. I realize I'm not doing all the practices that I had just said, like changing the titles and stuff. It's just sort of interest of time, so you can see as much as possible. Add to my other indicator. So now all of these are dynamic. And maybe your planners, well, your planners definitely will want to see the trends. So this is where, there we go. Selecting out by, or symbolizing by the year. And you can change this, you know, really however you like. Obviously a ton of options here. Make this a little bit nicer color that fits our scheme. This one we won't add an action because it's just going to be a summary for us. But obviously this is not the prettiest, so now we have to do some change, some reformatting. Go add in a side panel here because we'll want people to know what they're looking at. I'm just going to copy this text that I already did. I'm putting it in the title here because I found that if I put it in the description, it went to the bottom of the page. And so I'm just putting everything in the title bar here. And let's see. I think that was the bulk of what I had created in the other one. I know that I'm running low on time here, so I'll just, that was a very quick and dirty view of generating a dashboard, and I'll click over real quick to the one that I've already built, just so that you guys can look at this, and I will put a link in the chat. But also another function in here is there's a selector toolbar there in the map that allows you to select individual sites. Another function in there, and then you'll also notice these top intersection list here for people to you know, prioritize their active transportation planning. Looks like the Sundial Bridge South area is quite popular, which makes sense. You can also add hyperlinks. So if someone's hitting this and they're thinking, well, I want to go on a bike ride, but I want to store it safely, they can click over to the GIS page, which has rack data.
Will can't though.
So with that, I can take any quick questions, or if we need to turn it over to Steve, we can do that. Again, that's very quick and dirty, but again, you know, this is, they're pretty intuitive, though they do take some experimenting. But once you do a few of them, you really start to see the power in these visualizations. Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
That was
really informative, and you know, I think it was you know, it's really nice to see how, you know, the underworkings of the dashboard happens, since I think a lot of people have seen the end product. Yeah, these are counts from Healthy Shasta. They've been doing an annual bike count. Students volunteered for these, and this was really well timed in the sense that the cluster right around the label Reading on your map is where the downtown loop trail is proposed to be, is in the works. And so again, a nice addition potentially to the community to help kind of understand the patterns and what's going on. And I know as a cyclist yourself, Dave, I'm sure you had fun crunching the data, thinking about.
Yeah, it was cool. We need to get the numbers up.
That's right. That's right. We'll get out on our bikes.
Okay, let me stop my share here so that Steve can get to work, and I'll put a link to that in the chat. I made that public, but I don't, you know, that's not my data. So that might just be something that I take down, or if you want it to remain, we can get permission from Healthy Shasta, and yeah.
Probably a good reminder for a lot of us that we should probably be taking those down, or at least making sure that, you know, taking the public permissions off of them, and then maybe checking with Healthy Shasta might be something they're interested in using and sharing.
Okay, well, maybe I won't put it out there, but everyone had the view at least.
So just a quick update to everyone that this is what our crowdsourced map looks like right now. So jump in with your opportunity to contribute one or more cultural and or recreation sites. So we'll continue with our crowd mapping activity for the next half hour or so. And that's great. So we're gonna move on, and our next presenter, Steve, has been at the City of Reading for a number of years, and recently was promoted to the manager of the GIS shop. And you know, I remember some years back being at the Esri conference with 10,000 GIS professionals and mentioning that I was from Reading, and this person said, oh, there's a bunch of really good GIS folks up there. This is probably 15 years ago. And so we are on the map, as it were. And I think the presentations today really reflect the degree of talent and skills that are available in our community, and the commitment of folks like Steve to you know, kind of advance GIS in the community. Steve's been a real anchor with the NorthStateGIS project. So we're pleased to have Steve take the reins. So
thank you, Dan. Thank you so much. That was really nice. Thanks everyone for still attending. I know it's getting late in the day, and I appreciate everyone sticking around. And so my presentation today is going to talk about you know, ArcGIS Hub, but specifically on what you guys can do as GIS professionals with the sites tool. And so let me share my screen. Let's see now. So there we go. So what is let's see now. I missed that. So talking about sites, we have to talk about Hub. So you know, what is Hub for many of you who don't know? And that's basically Esri created this tool, which is basically kind of an easy to configure community engagement platform. And they break it down with two different license types, a basic and a premium. And for anyone who has an ArcGIS online organizational account, you are immediately entitled to having a basic account, a Hub basic account. And what does that mean in regards to sites? Well, what's nice is that having a basic site, that you have the ability to create unlimited sites as much as you want. And what are sites? Sites are basically like a website. and maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, where would I use this in my workflows and processes, or how could I deploy this? And I mean, there are numerous ways, and I'm going to probably show off a couple of examples here. But as Dan mentioned, I got involved with Dan and CERTA with the FNR, or the Far North Regional GIS Council, and the platform had a website that was hosted out on servers at Shasta College, and I got to be involved in the group to basically plan on the upgrade of that platform and the direction that we were going to take it. And the direction we decided on was to look at Esri's ArcGIS Hub. And so, and already, prior to jumping on board and assisting with this project, is that one of the great things about Hub is that, and probably one of the key tools, I would say, or the biggest uses of it, is that it's a great data sharing tool. I think before Esri coined the term Hub, I think they came out with this term called open data. Maybe some of you have heard that. And basically, open data is configured using sites, and it's just a way for GIS professionals to share, get their data out and share their data that they have available on ArcGIS Online or through various sources. And it doesn't even need to be necessarily ArcGIS services or GIS layers. You can share content out like spreadsheets or maybe documents, things like that. It adds a lot of flexibility. And so what I have on my screen here is just the difference between basic and premium. And so you get already a lot of functionality with just having the basic, but from what I've learned from premium is that it really opens up the possibilities to, they talk a lot about initiatives, and opens up a lot of possibilities to actually engage with the public. A couple lines down there, it gives you the possibility to create these community identities, which basically is kind of creating users. You have 100 kind of users that you could dole out to the community in order for them to get involved with your initiative in GIS, and actually kind of engage them to develop their own map data, their own maps, things like that. So I think, with premium, that's really what you end up getting, is that you get the ability to do initiatives, you get the ability to schedule events, and you get the ability to, again, get these 100 community identities, or these users that you're able to dole out in order for the community to engage with GIS. Now, I'm going to cover a couple of examples, but right now I have one specifically. Prior to him leaving the electric utility, Eddie Clark, who's been a GIS analyst in the area for a while, who now works for Jacobs, he built a site for the electric utility. And what's nice about this, is that it basically takes, it aggregates a lot of information, all on one page for, customers or the electric utility, I guess, not necessarily customers in the public, but staff as customers. It allows the staff to kind of hit one site and see all this aggregated information. And it's actually very timely that you had a chance to see Dave Drewett put together some dashboards. And so what this particular site's doing, again, is it's just aggregating all this information through dashboards and relaying this information to staff. So again, to help them make better decisions and kind of look at the data as a kind of bigger picture and look at statistics. So again, I was really fortunate that Eddie had built this site prior to leaving, and I know it's used on a daily basis to look up information. And so again, as I scroll down here, this is pretty much kind of a typical web page. It has its own URL, and then you have a ton of flexibility in regards to what you put on the page. Here we're looking at embedded dashboards. You have text editor, images. You have the ability to embed things like maps, and then you're able to embed links. You can go out and embed things and allow people to go out to the App Store. Here, this text down here at the bottom is referencing allowing users to go and download Esri's ArcGIS Explorer app and download an application that we've developed for them to be able to see data out in the field, so they could visit this and get some quick instructions, get right to the app. Again, make it, making it simple and easy to access the information. Another example I think I'm going to bring up is here's an example of what LA County did in regards to a site called Fighting Diabetes. And here, again, it's a real nice layout, and it's a mixture of text and data. Here they embedded a map that utilized some of the living atlas data that Deb mentioned, specifically demographics. And then again, it goes into really nice detail about, diabetes, health concerns, what contributes to diabetes, and it looks at statistics and things like that. So, instead of just looking at all these dashboards, I think it's probably best now that, I think I'll show you how to get started on creating a site. And so I'm going to start off by going into an ArcGIS Online content area. Again, this really leverages ArcGIS Online. You need to have an organizational account to do this. But in your primary content area, you have this create button. And then so you can click here and then start with doing a site. And what's nice is that if you don't have the, if you don't have the flair for, web design, or if you're not really much of an artistic person, is that you don't, and you've seen this now across all the various applications that's been shown today, be it a data collecting tool like Survey123, or a web mapping application like Devin showed, is that Esri provides all these wonderful templates that you can start, that you can work off of. And again, I'll preface that you can find just a plethora of data on Esri's blog sites and just through Google searches, similar to what kind of markets and Devin showed for getting to information, getting to templates that have examples of these different hub sites and examples. And so again, these are examples of templates, but I'm going to start new, and so I'm going to go back here. Okay, so actually go back to this content, create sites, and we're going to call this GIS Day 2020 V2. Create site. Okay, V3 or V4. And again, as Dave mentioned, and I'll say the same thing, is for time purposes, feel free to ask questions, unmute, ask questions. I don't mind talking through this as I'm working through this with you guys. So here it immediately kicks off with a little welcome pop-up window talking about some of the things that you could do. And then you can actually click on these various things and it'll lead you to different parts of the site. And so, and here at the top is kind of the navigation window for the hub. And so I'm going to go back to the site home here. A lot of you probably heard through websites is that there's something called Google Analytics. Well, but what we just visited was kind of an analytics type page that Esri produced, so you could see how many people are hitting your website, what's the bounce rate, how long people are staying on the site, and how quickly are they leaving. But in essence, this is a starting point into your site. And so there's, the navigation it can be a little convoluted, and so hopefully I can kind of help you walk through this. On your left-hand bar, this is where you're going to do, on the left-hand side, this is where you're going to be doing a lot of your navigation. And so starting off, this is going to be the settings of your website. And so you can set things up like name, if you wanted to use Google Analytics, if you want to set a specific domain, and a lot of the time, truth be told, is that I keep a lot of these settings default. a lot of the meat and potatoes are going to happen actually in your page and in these other items like the header, the theme. You're going to probably be doing a lot of modifications to the theme. As you saw, Dave likes working with kind of a darker theme for his dashboards. You know, this is where you can change those types of things, what type of text and font you use. So again, that's done in the theme. If you want to set specific information in your header, you can do that here. But again, I would say a lot of your work's going to be done in this layout button. And all these buttons listed here, these are essentially kind of drag and drop widgets that you can add to your map, or sorry, add to your site. And so when you're in your site, as you hover over different sections of your site, it kind of highlights what they are. And then what you could do is, as you hover over each section, is that you can actually hit the cog, the settings for that, and you know, different I would say buttons or widgets do different things. So in this instance, we have a title bar and it's a text editor. And this text editor is not that robust, but it gives you some functionality in regards to changing the font size and allows you to do some hyperlinking, bulleting, and then add some additional information. And I'll kind of go over this more in a little bit, but let's just say, you know, let's just do some quick changes here. Let's say, welcome to GIS today. Thanks for hanging around. And then when you're done making your edits, you can hit this cog, it submits it, but what it hasn't done yet is that it's bounced back out to kind of accessing all your other different pieces of your site page, but it hasn't saved it. And as you can see here, it says, hey, I've made a change, and now I can save it. And so this kind of saves your session, but what it doesn't do is that it doesn't actually publish your map to where you actually see your live view. And so what I do most of the time is that anytime I make a change, and this is something that I've learned over time, because unfortunately there's not really a good undo button here on the sites page, is that anytime I make a modification, I immediately make a save, because if I end up making a goof, like I end up removing this that language and saving that, I really don't have an undo button. I can't go back in here. I don't see an undo tool. And so now I'm stuck. So if you make constant saves, what you can do is actually you can just refresh the map and reload it. And what it'll do is it'll revert back to your last point you saved. So again, working in sites, big advice is just save often. Now, as I mentioned before, sites are really great ways for sharing data. But in this instance, where we're talking about GIS Day, and mainly I kind of just want to maybe add some pictures, maybe add some applications that we've seen today, and add some text language. And so I'm just going to remove this ability to search on data. And now I think I'm going to jump down to the next section. So this might be a really great place to add some text. And so what I'm going to do is, I think, I'm going to maybe steal some text from Esri's GIS Day page. So I'm going to go there. And then I'll show you an example. Now, obviously, I don't want to plagiarize, so I might want to make this a quote. But say if I wanted to grab this text right here. Here's another thing that I've learned through trial and kind of tribulation of working with sites, is that when you copy and paste data from another web page, that information typically comes across already formatted. And so now I'm going to paste this information in here. And as you can tell, it doesn't look as nice as what I was just previously seeing. So one bit of advice is that if you are looking to strip the formatting from content from another website to paste into your site that you're editing, then I recommend using something like as simple as Notepad. What that does is it strips the formatting out of from that web page, and then allows me I'm going to copy and paste this back in. And so I'm going to remove this because it doesn't look good at all. And now I'm going to paste it. Oh, sorry. go here, select this, copy, paste. Okay, it's interesting that it didn't take before, so let me try this.
I wonder if you have to save that notepad file before it recognizes the changes.
You know, it worked before, so let me actually just directly copy and paste this again. Copy into the notepad, edit, paste, and then we'll see what happens here. Copy. And then, okay, there we go. So now it's a lot more legible. Looks a bit cleaner. Now, obviously, I don't want to be a plagiarist because I took this language off Esri's website. So now what I can do is using the text editor, I can go down to this style, and I can actually choose a nice little kind of quote, symbolize it looking like a quote. Add some quotes here, and then say, Esri. Now, we already talked about how we're not looking to necessarily share data on building this particular site page, and so I'm going to remove this information. But as I remove this information, is that I'm going to look to add something back. And so, what's better than adding maybe something from, our commander-in-chief, someone that Matt talked about earlier, Jack Dangerman. So what I'm going to do here is I know that he did a real nice video introducing GIS Day, and so I'm going to go out to YouTube. Type in GIS Day 2020. There it is. And then kind of grab the link here. Okay, so I'll click on this. Pause that because that's loud. I'm gonna share. I can get this link right here. Copy it. Go back here. And now in my layout, I'd like to add a video. And notice I know I'm moving fast, but look how easy this is. How just you grab your widget from the left-hand side, and then you drag it onto the map. And as you can see, it gives you various interactions on where to place it. And so I'm going to place it below the text I just modified. And then once you've added that, it immediately gives you your settings up here to add your URL. And so I'm going to paste that in. It puts that in there. It is from YouTube, so I'll show YouTube branding, and then I may want to have the playback. So that looks good. And then so now that's done, I'm ready to jump to the next section. And so here's another example of utilizing a text box. And you're wondering yourself, well, that's pretty configured, having these kind of cards that link to different maps or applications. Well, what's nice is that Esri has kind of embedded the ability to add those cards. And so what I'm going to do is above this applications window, I'm going to go back to layout, and I'm going to add some text. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert maybe some cards, okay? And so I'm going to also increase the size of this. So I'm going to go to settings in this text box, and now I have some flexibility in here to maybe if I want to link some of the students' presentations from today, or if I want to link some maps from the map gallery. And so I'm actually going to do that now. So I'm going to go in here and configure, and I don't have images to replace here, but you can do that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually just change this link right now and just say GIS Day map. And what I'm going to do is I have already loaded some PDFs onto my content site in order to link. And so as I go back to my content site, here were some examples from the map gallery for GIS Day. And here was one the county produced. And so I'm going to go in here, and here's a big thing that you need to know, is that if you're going to make your site public, well then any items that you share on your site, you have to make sure that you make it publicly available, or else it's going to bark at you telling you they won't be able to. So again, I went to share, I made it public, and then it gave me a URL that I can now copy. And so I'm going to now change this link, paste, and I'm going to want to open that in a new tab. So add that link. So again, essentially what I'm doing here is that I'm adding these nice kind of map cards. And so, you know, I'd take this probably a little bit further, and I would change the image here. I would change, you know, maybe the, you know, what the name of this image is. I've already linked this information. I don't need to have an additional view and details button. And so maybe what I would do is I would remove it, you know, remove those, and then I would configure the rest of these to reference other master map applications, and then move on.
So,
down here at the bottom,
Steve?
Devin. Oh, any questions right now?
Yeah, this is Marcus. What was that? Was that the gallery with all the cards in it? Or what was,
So
what
a
widget
couple of
was
things.
that?
So you have a gallery widget right here that you can drag and drop. And what this is going to do is this, this is a real nice interface to be able to access apps, maps, dashboards from your ArcGIS Online site. And this is a real easy configurable way to do that also. It's almost multiple, you know, very Esri-like. You know, there's multiple ways to achieve the same goal. What I did is I actually added those from a text editor, where this is its own standalone widget, and there's configuration settings within this widget, which is almost doing the same thing.
Hey, Steve.
So, yeah.
You know, I'm pretty sure that picture is actually Florida GIS Day 1954. Can you edit the text?
Yes, I can. And so I'm going to go back into here, and so 1954, or no, not 1954. And so I make that change. Now, I'm already breaking my own rule. I've already made a ton of changes, and I haven't saved. And that's good, you know, that will come back to bite you, let me tell you. And so I'm going to hit save now, just as a reminder. Now, for the sites is really nice because Esri's made a really easy configurable tool with a GUI interface and with drag and drop options to build this web page. But you know, if you know or understand at all a little bit of HTML language, it actually goes a long way in regards to the ability to customize, you know, further customize your page. And so if you dabble in this at all, you know, you can access iframe, you know, a code view iframe to be able to further change these things. You know, for example, one thing that this text editor doesn't really have is the ability to change color on text. Really, it only has this ability to change, you know, style settings, banners, different text sizes like that, bold, italicized. Well, maybe with the overall style of, maybe I already have an existing website. You know, here at the city, we have a website that's a content management system, and we have very specific and unique styles and colors that we try to abide by and use, and maybe I want to try to match that. Well, now in this instance is that I may want to change this hyperlink to maybe the color red. Well, what you can do here is that, you know, you can find a lot of different style coding, you know, HTML coding. In this instance, here's one that just shows, you know, how to change the text color. And so it's giving me this bit of, I guess, script in order to change it from the color from white or black to red. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to go back in to here. Maybe here this might make it a little easier. I'm going to go to iframe, and maybe what I'd like to do is I'd like to make this whole text block red. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this in, and the body of this is the body of text that's actually red. And so I'm going to remove this, and then I'm going to grab this little end bracket here for my style, cut this, and I'm going to put this at the end. But it's all about embedding, and I know, you know, this probably doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of you. So this is where I recommend maybe learning a little bit about HTML. And so again, I've added this color style in for the color red. I've put the end block here, and now I'm going to finish. And now, again, I'm able to convert that text to red to further just kind of expand your ability in building out your website and styles. As I go down here, what else would I like to do? Well, we've seen a lot of great map applications today. Survey 123, and so maybe I want to give my user base or my customers the ability to access a Survey 123. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go in here, and they have a widget here where you can bring in a survey. So I'm going to do that now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a survey. And then I'm going to look for Marcus's survey. Well, I vaguely remember the name of Marcus's survey, but what you could do is you could search for unique IDs. And so, Marcus, can you paste? Well, let's just see.
Well, I think mine was on the Shasta County ArcGIS online, and yours is going through not to Shasta County, so it would. I don't think it would be in here.
And then what was the name you coined with one of your first surveys that you showed us? It was
recreation something.
Yeah, recreation. Well, I think probably now it's already 5 o'clock. I'm probably losing people here. People are getting tired and hungry. So I'm actually just going to show off what the actual final website looks like. So I'm going to back out of here. I'll say okay. And I'm actually going to go into my content area. And then you can access your hub through this icon here, a waffle icon. And then here I'm going to click on hub. And this is where you're going to get to be able to see all the sites that you've been able to create. Again, here at the City of Reading, we've created an open data portal. Here's a Reading Electric Utility site that was created. And so I'm actually going to go to this final page. Okay. And essentially this was, if I minimize this, one nice thing about sites also, when you're thinking about what the best tool for getting your information out there, whether it's a story map or maybe it's a web app, mapping application or experience builder, is that sites do have the ability to add additional web pages. And so I'm going to view publish right now. And so this is the final product that I was working on. Again, going through, I added some history. Here, this links out to some of the map exhibits that were presented today. Going down, here's the map activities that Marcus and Devin worked on. Again, embedding content in the site, embedding applications in the site. Here's the beautiful dashboard that Dave worked on. And it's just, you can really get into the weeds with a lot of the configuration of this site. And I would say don't let it deter you from trying it out and dabbling in it, because it's really, besides maybe getting used to the navigation, it's relatively intuitive with dragging and dropping and placing widgets and configuring them. And then, like I said before, that you can create additional pages. So say this was a landing page with a bunch of information, and I didn't want my users to have to scroll to get to maybe where I share GIS data. So I create an actual open data page that goes to where they can actually access and download the GIS information. And again, here, these are various widgets. I can configure these categories based on groups that I could set up in ArcGIS Online in my content area, and share specific things like demographic data or transportation data or things like that what would reflect a specific category. And again, just the ability to really configure these sites. You might recognize this person who did an excellent talk about GIS in the past. And so I'm going to leave it there. I know it was, I think Dave termed it as just kind of quick and dirty on a way to, configure a site page. I encourage everyone to give it a try, test it out, maybe create an open data site, and see what you could do. Sharing data is so important to the GIS community. And again, this is a fantastic tool for doing that. And there's so many examples online similar to what Marcus showed in regards to surveys. It's the same way for the hub. And so I'm going to leave it there. And if anyone has questions that, you know, you don't have enough time for me to answer, or you have to go, feel free to email me at the City of Reading. Same goes for if you have any questions about dashboards. Dave and I can be able to, you know, we'll be able to answer maybe further detailed questions if you have any. And I'll leave it there.
Thanks, Steve. I think I speak for probably a lot of people in saying that, you know, I feel like I have my homework now between the survey 1, 2, 3 and the sites. You know, I think it was really showed how, you know, like so many of these software tools, you know, it does take a little bit of poking around and figuring things out. But after a while, you figure out sort of the settings and you tweak things. And the first run of it's a little sloppy. It doesn't look so great, but you stop share. And Marcus, you're